Hi friends, as part of Civilspedia, we will be discussing 4 topics today. In the editorial or mains discussion, we will be seeing regional trade agreements. So, trade agreements, they are actually any contractual agreements or arrangements between states concerning their trade relationship between those countries. And if you see the international trade, it is regulated by many or several barriers like tariffs or non-tariff barriers or sometimes outright prohibitions. So trade agreements, it is one way of reducing these barriers and to promote economical integration. In WTO, regional trade agreements are defined as reciprocal trade agreements between two or more partners. And India views regional trade agreements as building blocks for the trade liberalization. That is, the objective of regional trade agreements are trade liberalization. And hence, we are signing a lot of trade agreements, regional trade agreements, which include free trade agreements, preferential trade agreements, comprehensive economic cooperation agreements, etc. And these arrangements or these agreements, besides providing preferential trade, tariff rates, it also provides for economic cooperation in several fields like trade, in services, then in investment, and also in also in IPs. So, if you see in recent years, this RTAs has become a very important part of multilateral trading system. And now, apart from tariff reduction, more areas have been discussed or more areas have been negotiated in these agreements, like policy cooperation are also discussed in that. So, we will see what are the advantages of regional trade agreements. It promotes and enhances mutual trade and economic cooperation. So, trade agreements, they help to eliminate barriers. And when barriers are eliminated, the cross-country movement of goods and services increases between the contracting states. And this will help in enhancing the mutual trade as well as giving a boost to the economies of the participating countries. And also, if the agreements, they are designed in a beneficiary manner, that is, if the agreements are not just talking about the tariff reduction, but also is dealing with policy cooperation, it will help in increasing international trade and investments. Now coming to because of this, it will also help to boost exports and also foreign investments in the participating countries. Then about technology transfer, the local companies or local firms will get an opportunity to access and learn about the expertise and the most latest technologies from the multinational partners who will be coming to the domestic markets. Now about monopoly prevention and benefits to consumers. When the trade increases, the domestic firms will face more competition from companies who are coming from abroad, and this will incentivize them to reduce the cost and to increase the production, and thus it will be beneficial to the consumers because they will have a wide range of products at the best quality and at cheaper rates. So these are some of the advantages of regional trade agreements, but these agreements will also have some disadvantages as well. Now, it will affect domestic industry. That is, it can lead to dumping. The countries which will have higher production, they will dump these products into the other world market at a very lower cost. And this will make the domestic products less competitive and it will harm the domestic firms. Now, apart from this, it can also be detrimental to countries that are not part of the regional agreements. So many say that regional trade agreements are building blocks towards multilateral trading system, but sometimes it can also be detrimental to those countries which are not a part of that particular trade agreement, and they will be at a disadvantaged state. And also sometimes these agreements can promote regionalism as well. Now, it might not lead to any increase in trade. So trade agreements are signed to promote trade, but at sometimes this may not lead to an increase in trade. For example, in 2009, India signed a free trade agreement with South Korea. because of which the steel makers in South Korea could export to India without any tariffs. While at the same time, Japan's Nippon Steel Corporation, it had to pay 5% of tariff. So this made Japan to seek a similar agreement with India. And finally, India had to sign a free trade agreement with both South Korea as well as Japan. And if you see the overall picture, these agreements, it did not lead to an increase in trade. So this is also disadvantage, that it might not lead to an increase in trade. Now there are also environmental concerns regarding free trade agreements. And if you see, even though these disadvantages are there, many a times in this era of competition and uncertainty and protectionism, the countries sign free trade agreements so that they are not left out. And if you see India's present agreements with countries like Korea, Japan and ASEAN, the partner countries are benefiting more than India. And the import-export ratio of India with these countries have been seen as deteriorating after the implementation of these trade agreements. One reason for this can be the lack of competitiveness in export of India, and also the various policies that harm the export from India. Now, in the past few years, India did not sign much free trade agreements. And before signing any agreement, our country should ensure, the government should ensure that the provisions in the agreement are beneficial to all the partners taking part in this agreement, and also our concerns are addressed properly. Moving to our prelims topic, we will see Gaganyaan, gravitational waves and LIGO, and integrated coastal zone management. First one is Gaganyaan. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi in his Independence Day speech announced that in 2022, we will be sending astronauts to space. So Gaganyaan is the human space flight program. We will see what it is. It is set for 2022, and three or four persons, 3 astronauts will be sent to the space, and they will be circling Earth for 7 days in a crew capsule or crew module. And this module will be developed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in Bangalore, and it will be weighing 7,000 kilograms. And the launch vehicle which will carry this module to the space will be Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle Mark III, which is indigenously developed by our country. And if you see, this will be in 2022, in the eve of 75th Independence Day. Independence Day is a celebration year. And this is about the Gaganyaan program. And also this crew capsule or crew module, it will be having life control and environmental control facilities, as well as emergency abortion of the mission, as well as emergency escape for the crew members. And in the last month, ISRO, they tested the pad abort system. This is an emergency escape system for the crew members, and this was also tested. So this is about the Gaganyaan program. And coming to our next program, it is gravitational waves and LIGO. We will see what is gravitational waves and then LIGO. So gravitational waves, they are ripples in the fabric of space-time, which is which is formed by some violent and energetic phenomena in the universe, like the collision of black holes or collision of black holes, or by the collision of neutron stars, that is 2 neutron stars coming together and forming one, or the gravitational waves, which are the remnants of the birth of the universe. So from all this process, gravitational waves can be created. And this existence of gravitational waves was first predicted by Albert Einstein in 1916 in his general theory of relativity. And these gravitational waves, they will travel at the speed of light and will contain information. It will have information about the origin, that is whether they were originated from the collapsation of black holes or from neutron stars, etc. We can understand by studying gravitational waves what their origin is. And though it was predicted in 1916, the proof for the existence, or the first physically it was sensed in September 14, 2015 by LIGO in United States. And now we will see what is LIGO. So LIGO, or the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, it is the world's largest gravitational wave observatory, and it is situated in US, and it consists of two L-shaped interferometers, that is the laser interferometer. It is an investigative tool which is used in different fields of science and engineering, and they work by the method of converging two or more sources of light and creating an interference pattern which will contain information about the object or the phenomena which we are studying. And this is mainly used when the measurement is very small. If you see the laser interferometers in LIGO, it can measure 1 by 10,000 width of proton. You know, proton is a subatomic particle, and to measure this distance of proton, it requires to be very efficient. And this shows that why these interferometers can detect the gravitational waves. Now, coming to the LIGO India project. This is an international collaboration between LIGO laboratory in US and the 3 leading institutions in the LIGO India consortium. So the LIGO India consortium includes Institute of Plasma Research in Gandhinagar, IUCA Pune, that is the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, and Raja Ramana Center for Advanced Technology, Indore. And the project is piloted by Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Science and Technology. Now, recently, Environment Ministry has allowed the scientists to test the land suitability in Maharashtra's Hingoli district for hosting the gravitational observatory, because for installing this LIGO project in India, it requires a very flat surface, and for this ministry, the Environment Ministry has asked the scientists to test the land suitability in Maharashtra's Hingoli district. So that is about the LIGO India project. Coming to the Integrated Coastal Zone Management, IPCC, that is the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, it says that in its report, it says that the global mean sea level is rising, and this will impact the coastal areas in the world. And you know, India has more than 7,000 kilometers of coastal areas, and it is said that the eastern part, or the east coast of India, will be more affected than the west coast because of its low-lying nature, and the tendency or the probability of coastal flooding will increase with the increase in sea level. And to study about this, government has done mapping and demarcation of the entire coastal zones of India for the multi-hazard vulnerability. And from the report of the expert committee headed by MS Swaminathan, the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has planned to implement the ICISDM project. So this project aims to an integrated and sustainable management of the entire aspect of coastal areas, because you know, coastal areas are one of the most productive and diverse ecosystems in the world. And this project is supported by World Bank, and the main objective is to building national capacity for implementation of comprehensive coastal management approach in the country, and also piloting the integrated coastal zone management approach in states of Gujarat, Orissa, and West Bengal. Now, for the implementation of ICISDM, the ministry has established a society for integrated coastal management. So this society will be looking into the implementation of the program, as well as they will be promoting research and development about coastal areas. And they will be implementing the following 4 components, that is the National Coastal Management Program, the ICISDM West Bengal, ICISDM Orissa, and ICISDM Gujarat. Now, coming to the national component in this project, it aims the demarcation of hazard line, and this will be done by Survey of India for mapping the entire coastline of the mainland of the country. And also, a National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management has been established within the campus of Anna University, Chennai. So this is about ICESADA. This is all for today's session. Thank you so much.